Okay, so here's a couple of questions for the listeners. How much do you think the improvisation, self-consciousness, and self-belief are connected? How do you get into that flow state when your inhibitions are shed? And can an improv state of mind be a skill that can be learned? I'm asking this with a bit of self-interest. I've got two practices that I've approached from, I suppose, completely different direction. The first one is the cello, and then the other one is some graphic design. And I am, as usual, probably overthinking things, but I do wonder how these sort of work alongside my natural instincts. Now, Karl Bielik makes art and music, both of which, for me at least, feel rooted in a mind where lawlessness, turbulence, and spontaneity rule. I really enjoy the feeling of that I get of dislocation and uncertainty and surprise from listening to his music, and it feels like improvisation and experimentation play a strong part in his work. Now, earlier this year, his music project LARP released its first album for 7 years, and it's called Be Still, and it's another beautifully unpredictable, unnerving collection of ideas and inventiveness that, like the rest of the catalogue, sort of displaces me and then continues to draw me back in. So with that, Karl, welcome. Thanks so much for coming on the show. I'm really excited to talk to you finally.
Thanks. That was a really sweet intro. Cheers.
No problem. So since I raised those questions for the listeners, I mean, I'm really interested in your views on improvisation, how you've used it, where it sort of came from, how it's, what sort of role it's played for you in your life.
I think it's really huge for me. The one thing, if it's really measured, I'm trying to get things going, and it doesn't work, and I can work around things by just throwing something into the mix and just making things up, like turning the mark, for example, trying to put a song together, not having a melody line maybe, but not having a lyric. So having things written down, but then actually just think, I'll just turn the mic on and press record, because I record everything. It's written, recorded, and mixed at the same time. Someone else masters it, so it's all part of the same kind of thing. So, I mean, sometimes it's a disaster. You record something and it's awful, and thankfully you can just delete it if no one else hears it.
Yeah.
And also on your own, it's a lot easier than if you do it in a room with other people.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And the same, I mean, it goes across both, painting and making music. And I'd say there's one, and I'm not being self-deprecating. I'm not a great musician. They are very collaged together of a lot of records. When I get other people to play stuff, I kind of use pre-recorded drums, play the bass, a little picked guitar, some synth, percussion. Yeah. But it's I don't even pick instruments up when I'm not writing songs. I just pick them up when it's time to write a record.
Yeah.
So it's in a very different place. I mean, it's sort of like when I used to be in Lark did used to be a real band with like 6 members.
Yeah.
And 3 were really one was classically trained pianist, and Jim Morris, who was in Ballad with the Angel, was the guitarist for the whole live period we had. And they were really talented, but they'd listen to my improvised, vague, unruly ideas about stuff, because it's not how they would do stuff.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting. I'm immediately sort of thinking of myself and how it would feel to do that, sort of on your own, where your mistakes and are right there.
Yeah.
They're right there in front of you. That's basically you sort of you looking at yourself and saying, right, I fucked that up. That I hate that. And then there's the other side where you're kind of presenting it to others as well, which for me is equally as scary.
Yeah, I mean, putting things out in front of other people. I mean, there are a lot of this that makes me nervous, but the desire to make stuff stronger.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it goes out there, and it. Yeah, I mean,
no, sorry, carry on.
That's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
Like going to the studio, painting, making music.
Yeah.
Films, just the creative part of existence.
And has that always been with you, or is that something that you've had to? I mean, I know that you kind of started painting late. I think read you about 30.
Yeah. I started everything I do is late.
But when you
it is. I had a kid when I was 47. It's like what I do.
Well, it's funny, like, because I mean, like, just sort of briefly on the cello. I mean, I played that when I was a kid, and I was classically trained. So I did all my exams.
Yeah.
Hated the theory, but the practical, I mean, I got through some of the theory, but I didn't get to the end of it.
Okay.
I just knew that I wasn't. But the practical stuff, I sort of sailed through it, and but I gave it up. And talk about coming back to it late. This is where I was kind of thinking about the improvisation. So I'm trying to relearn it with a different mindset.
Okay.
You know, from what I've had, which is like within this sort of framework, this is how you do it. This is right. This is wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which that must have been drilled into you as a kid if you did that.
Totally.
Yeah. You see, I don't have any of that because I'm kind of, it's a bit Marquis Smith-like, and I know about 3 chords. That's it.
Yeah.
But I found when the band existed as it was ever changing 6-piece, but it was mainly me, Jim, and the whole time, and other people came in and out. But there's always 2 or 3 non-musicians in the band.
Yeah.
Who would just play my rudimentary keyboard pattern, which kept it kind of a bit raw. Yeah. And towards the end, we got a classically trained pianist who I was getting to like go for 5 minutes. He's like, he could sort of play anything, but that's what he's having to do, in band practice. But I think I realised when it came to the end, because it stopped being a live act when I had a kid. Yeah. I wanted to carry on painting, I wanted to be a dad, and I wanted to make music. But I didn't have time to do rehearsals. So it went to become much more of a solo kind of affair. And when I stopped towards the end, I should have said it was going to end before that, but I didn't. But when I stopped actually trying to, not control, but trying to run the band practice and cut that there, drop that there, put that in, I saw what it could be like without anybody running a ship.
Right.
Because there was no real direction then for the last few sort of rehearsals we had. Yeah. And you sort of need that in a band, don't you? Or in any situation, even if there's not the most talented person to direct it somewhere.
Yeah. That's an interesting point as well about some sort of leadership, if you will, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
If my expanders listen to this, they might not like that. No, I wouldn't say it's leadership. It was just I'd write in essence like the songs, something that you'd heard. If the live act still existed, I'd give them in demo form. Which I mean, there's no such thing to me as a demo. If it works, it works. I'd give them in the sort of my finished version of it, a selection of the songs, and the band would choose 1 or 2 of them, and then we just work it out from there.
So how does that approach compare to
now
what you're doing now? I mean, how does that kind of feel to you?
It was much more instant when it was the band because they're really talented musicians. So and probably more once you ironed out the kind of initial, guitar flourishes and got rid of all them things, and then any films, then it was really enjoyable. Yeah. And then I could edit the lyrics, and Jim would be quite strong on structuring the song, so it worked really well like that. And it was much more instant, and I guess probably more fun because you're in a room doing it, and then it also, just more full on, louder. I mean, some of the songs on the album, when I've written them and I put the final lyric down, it might have only been sung twice. And when you sing a song repeatedly in rehearsal or playing live, you kind of, I think you trim words off, you slightly edit it and all that kind of stuff before it gets released. So there's a sort of an ongoing process when it was a band.
And did you find that with like when you're playing it live, or if you're rehearsing, you're rehearsing to try and get it to sound like the original, or would you?
No, it would be
quite happy to change it. Yeah.
Well, we had like like I said, there'd be a bass, guitarist, keyboard player, drummer, and at the very end, all very good. And then someone who did percussion, extra guitar. They roved around the instruments. Yeah. It was a lot bigger sound. It's kind of full on. It was still as sort of as wonky, but it was like polished wonky, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah.
But there's something I really love about lo-fi music, like like early Bill Callahan, Smog. I just adore Smoke.
Yeah.
The first two albums, incredible.
Yeah.
And that kind of quick accessibility of making it is like, I mean, one of the tracks on the album, I think Sixpence, it sounds a bit like Sing a Song of Sixpence, and that's why it's called that. Or just to me, anyway. And that was just the only song that was written on guitar. Genuinely, I rarely played acoustic guitar. And I was sitting watching a film where I just actually, I think I might have Googled the simplest song to play on it. And it was two chords, and I quite like. And I thought I quite like that, and I got a sort of melody going through it. And then I thought, oh, you know, and I just chose a really kind of like cheesy little drum pattern off a 15 quid Casio. Kate went upstairs and recorded it, and it was. And then I put some whistles on it because I thought it needed some whistling at the beginning, and I kind of thought I'm pretty good at whistling. I'm not. I thought I was, and I whistled. If you listen to the song, at the beginning of it, sounds like the seagulls screaming in the background. Yeah. Well, I whistled and it sounded, and I put it on. It sounded fucking appalling. So I put it through the guitar pedal in Pro Tools, and then it ended up sounding like seagulls screaming at the seaside. And then the song's kind of evocative of walking down a kind of wet seafront. In November. So it can't. So that's, I mean, brilliant. I guess, you know, thinking something and then trying to execute it. Sometimes when you don't have like improvisation, or you don't have, you know, I don't think, oh, you play an A and then you're not supposed to do that afterwards. Yeah. So I don't have the knowledge to know that bit. So sometimes it really works. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it can be very frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. I love the lo-fi kind of style, if you want to call it that. Yeah. I think that's just something that resonates with me, and me too. You know, I always then sort of try to work out, well, why do I like that? What is it that sort of attracts me to that kind of stuff? Because like you know, when I first started getting into music, it was you know, it was punk. Yeah, me too. I think we're about the same age. I'm 50. I'm 50. 57. Just turned 57.
Right. Yeah, I'm older than you. I'm 58. So yeah. It's same for me.
It was that, and then. So I was then playing this classical music, and I just couldn't, as a what would I be, 12-year-old, I just couldn't reconcile the two.
Yeah, I'm sure it's kind of difficult, isn't it? But then nobody probably told you that Brian Jones was an amazing guitarist for the Damned, and you know, you could have kind of had a link with that, but the pretense wasn't nobody could play anything. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think wasn't much choice then, was there? Which is interesting, because it's like, I've heard you talk on the podcast about. And I was thinking, God, that's same. It's kind of the same as me. It's like a year above you, or probably 2 years above you at school. It was either be a rocker, a punk, or a mod. Yeah. And I became punk. You know, I mean, we're talking like, you know, the first gig was like Exploited supporting Cockney Rejects in Huddersfield, the same venue the Pistols did their last gig in England. Cleopatra's. And an afternoon gig, which nobody remember. You must have been to them. Matinee gigs for kids. Matinee gigs, yeah. With really hardcore punk bands playing to like 12-year-olds in tartan bum flaps. So that was me anyway. It's just kind of hilarious, but I guess it's not a thing anymore, is it? Because there's so much out there. Yeah, I mean, but again, at that time, yes, it was sort of punk, mod, ska. Yeah, reggae. You know, it was very, you know, compartmentalized. Yeah, you knew if your mate had, like, you know, bleached jeans on, bleached jeans on, or a furry Dennis the Menace jumper, he was a punk. You know, exactly. Yeah, there was that sort of uniform. Yeah, as well as that look that gave it away. It's not like that now. No, and I think that's kind of people coming through our period, I think that kind of style thing's important. You know, there was a lot of that in the 70s. You know, a lot of really, like Bowie was one of my first big, like, proper musicians that I started liking. And it was through album covers. Yes, it was. Because that was my real introduction to art in a strange way, because there's no art in my house. I'm not from an artistic background. My dad's Hungarian refugee. Yeah. And an engineer. And my mum's had a little hairdressing business. And there was like, we had the only thing we had on our walls was the Hair Wayne by Constable, but I had a clock in the middle of it. Which is like, I think it sort of sums me up and what I do, actually. Yeah.
So I mean, what with both the music, getting into sort of punk, and then the art later. What I mean, what was it like for your art? What was it that attracted you to art?
I mean,
painting?
That took a long time, because I mean, I left school at 16. Went straight to work as an electrician. As an apprentice electrician for 3 years. Qualified, became an electrician for Chubb Alarms in Leeds, and my friend on the street where I grew up was a graphic designer, and I was quite good at art. School wasn't exceptional or anything, and I thought what he did and he got paid for looked way easier than what I did. And I thought, I'm going to go. And I was like, how do you get into art school? And he was like, just go and apply. So I applied to Halifax. I had to do some drawings to take to the interview. And so I used to just sit at lunchtime in my Chubb Alarms company car on a building site, drawing a skull on my dashboard. Which is kind of funny thinking back to that. But and then I got in. And I mean, I probably wish I'd have done a foundation course. But I think because I'd come from like working class, had been an electrician, family was they weren't happy. I just moved out at that time, but they weren't happy about me not packing in what was a good job for life kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I did a graphic design thing, because I was thinking that's going to lead to employment. But in the 4 years that I did it, by the time I'd finished, Apple Macs were just coming out. Thatcher was running the country, and there was no jobs. So I was afterwards, I sort of got really into like collage, through learning about Kurt Schwitters and the Dardas and movement and all that kind of stuff. And then I sort of would make these paintings or films, or they'd sort of let me go anywhere. I wasn't much of a designer, but they'd let me go wherever I wanted to go, do screen prints. And when I finished, there was no work. So I had all these little slides I'd made and paintings and films and stuff. And then I was unemployed. I was unemployed really for another 4 years, until I was about 27, and did a bit of traveling, lived in it's pretty dire in times in Bradford. And carried on making a little bit. The only thing I really made, I was thinking about this today because I was prepared a little bit before, was mixtape covers.
Yeah.
That was my art.
So this was like around about like mid-90s?
83 to...
80.
No, wait a minute. When did I finish school? 83 finished school, I think. Yeah, 90s, up to 96. 90 to 96. And then I travelled a bit. I'd been around Europe and got some money together and just left, because I had nothing to be there for.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't desolate as that. I had friends and stuff going on, but... and then a friend... I got offered this, somehow through my old tutor, got offered a job in Prague, but I had to learn how to use a Mac. So I went back to college, went to college one day a week, learned how to use it. I didn't. I tried to, but I couldn't get my head around what I had to learn. And then my mate Tony, who I was at college with, he was like, look, I'm packing my job in, I want to go travel, I'm coming to Prague with you. So we just went on a bus. I never seen a picture of Prague, didn't even know where it was. I mean, it was in Budapest, that's where my dad's from. And we went sort of went there. We didn't even have anywhere to stay. I mean, it's insane. And we weren't like 19, we were like 27, something like that. We just got off the bus and we were like, wow, Prague's really pretty, isn't it? It's like you're expecting queues and the kind of thing that we're fed here about Eastern Europe, or were. Yeah. And I think we just went out, we found somewhere to stay, just went out and drank. And the next day I went to this place where the job was. And I went in and he sort of sat down. He said, he put a computer there. He said, can you just do that? Can you put a layer on and do this and do that? And I paid him. He couldn't do it. He went, you can't really use them, can you? And I was thinking, I've got 400 quid. I don't care. It's 25 pence a beer. I'm just going to get drunk for 4 weeks, then go back to England and then work my life out when I get back. But Tony was a really good designer. Yeah. So I went and got Tony from the bar that he was in, took him back. He got the job. He got a flat. I started taking my kind of portfolio around, and didn't really get any, couldn't really, like I said, I couldn't use the software. But people started to see the work and say, oh, you could do an illustration for this, or we could use that painting for this backdrop. And I started getting bits of work. And then I stayed there for 3 years. Wow. And it led to me starting painting. Yeah. And then lived in Lisbon for a bit, in Amsterdam. And my first real studio was in Prague in like 97, when I first went, this is work. I'm getting up and I'm going to paint. That's amazing. And that really is like sort of, kind of like, having no plan, and how, there's no plan. How things sort of come together. yeah, and you just kind of, I guess, aim at the thing you want is the thing that I was doing.
Yeah.
And then I ended up doing it. But I had no confidence to do that when I was here. And I didn't really have anybody around me who was doing anything kind of creative. And then I met this woman I was there. She was a photographer. We started working together on this Czech English magazine that was really well designed. And we could do all the imagery for the whole thing. And it was a really beautiful piece of design work. And Tony got the job designing it all.
Right.
So suddenly we were kind of running this really ultra kind of cool magazine. Like, how are we even doing this?
Okay.
And that sort of led to me, I think, it just led to me making work, because you realise there are restrictions if you work in anything commercial. So at some point, someone's going to say, we can't have that image. You need to make that bigger or that smaller. And then I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to move that to the side. I'm just going to carry on painting.
Why do you think you didn't have the confidence to do it in what you're doing in the UK as opposed to...
I think really, if we go into that kind of deeply, I think the period when I was on the dole, I can vividly remember it. It's funny delving back into this stuff, but I can actually remember not being able to say, I was so skinned. If I was going out, I was meeting you and a few friends, I'd just buy my own drinks. I'd have like £12.50. That's what I've got to be out on. I don't want to, I'm kind of self-sufficient. I like living off my own stuff. Yeah. But I just dreaded anyone saying, what are you doing? What are you doing now? Yeah. And it really, I think it really got to me, to be honest. It's like, I found it really hard. And I didn't really have a thing for quite a lot of years. Which has probably now served me really well. It's like, it's kind of like a wilderness years where you're just noodling around. Like but I wasn't even living, if it had been more romantic, I'd been living in a squat in Battersea or something like that, but I wasn't. I was like, but I guess the equivalent was, it was very cheap there, so you didn't need much to live off. Yeah. So yeah, I just didn't have the kind of confidence or direction or belief or thinking it was even a thing that you could become a painter, because it wasn't. I knew probably one painter I knew in Stockport, Phil, who was a friend of my old tutor. He's the only person I knew who painted. Painting's like lust for life and the major stuff. I mean, I got into it. I would go and look at a lot of different work, but it wasn't. I guess I didn't believe.
Just didn't believe. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Like the kind of factors that can do that. Sometimes when you've been through that sort of 4 years on the dole, that almost like that environment that you're living in becomes. That's what you remember of it. Yeah. It's like, that was the time that I was on the dole. It was really hard, blah, blah. And, but then you get a new place, a new physical surroundings, perhaps, other people around you as well.
Yeah. And it maybe starts again because of that. And you're not having to like, you've already done a thing because you're there.
Yeah.
What exactly. You're doing. You're in Prague. I'm here. That's what I did. I got here. Yeah. And there were loads of people there just fanning around. They were like, it was quite a big, some it was all right, I guess, but poetry scene there from people from America. Yeah. And I got involved, like laying out their magazines and doing collages for them and stuff like that. So it was kind of quite an open environment, I guess.
That sounds really exciting. I mean, I did. I'd never done any sort of art or graphic design or anything like that, but I was interested in. I've always been. I suppose, like going back to when I started buying records, I was always interested in it. It was the visual, the artwork that kind of drew me in, because you often went to a record shop without listening to it, and it was the artwork.
You wouldn't know, would you? I mean, there's no real radio stations playing the stuff that we didn't listen to. So you saw a nice cover and you thought that looks great, and then that's why I like Tom Waits, because it would
drag you into a world, wouldn't it? Like
Saltfish Trombone's album cover.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, that was a thing. I think that's the thing that not being poverty or being skint, and led me into loads of different literature and music, because I would go to the library and film, and I would get records out of the library, take them home, and my job to a degree was I'd copy them onto cassette. Yeah. So I had them. I remember getting Saltfish Trombones by Tom Waits out with a photograph on the cover. It just blew my mind. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what it was going to be, and I was just like, "Wow!" Was it like instantly? I mean, in love, I guess. Yeah. With his music straight away, and it's still my favorite album that he's done. But yeah, and also it's that middle bit, isn't it? It's the point where he goes from drunken barroom to very experimental.
Yeah. It's classic stuff. I mean, that whole ability, to I guess kind of convey a message of what's in what you're going to listen to through the cover.
Yeah,
it's like a really special thing to have to be able to do that.
And it was a gateway, wasn't it? It was a gateway into the music. You'd see that and you think, right,
that's what I want to listen to.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah. I remember I did a 4-week online graphic design course, and it was the not the last Pixies album, it's the one before that.
Yeah,
Doggerel, the one with the black and red cover that like was really striking to me, and I thought, oh, do you know what? Why don't you just go and have a go at doing something like that? Just have a go, which is not usually like me, but I thought, I'll do that. And it was but what was interesting was like when I started to doing it was obviously a very brief course, but what then inspired me was completely the opposite of that artwork. I was drawn to like the work of David Carson.
Okay.
He did Ray Gun magazine in the 90s.
Oh yeah. I didn't even I knew.
So kind of like collagey, but broke the rules.
But also a bit like there was the designers in Manchester. What they were called? What they called Tomato, and then Vaughan Oliver, who died not a few years ago, who ran 4AD, who did the Pixies stuff. It was a massive influence on me when I was at college. Was the Pixies covers that he made? Yes,
of course.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
the early one, Doolittle. He did all them.
Yeah, because it was. I think it was.
He was 4AD, wasn't he? He worked
big after that, wasn't it? Yeah, that's it. Vaughan Oliver. Yeah, you're right.
He was amazing because he was that other guy. The magazine that I mentioned. It's funny you said that because the magazine that I mentioned that we did in Prague, which was called Pozor, which means attention.
Yeah.
Which they have on road signs. Tony, the designer, he's big hero, and the magazine looked a little bit like Reagan.
Ah, really?
That's what it looked like. It really did.
What I found, what was great for me was with that sort of style, and I do it like with I do my own sort of design work for my like written stuff. It's kind of like an online zine almost.
Yeah.
But it's like with anything that's sort of, as you know, that's sort of distorted or sort of glitchy. You can basically it covers up 1,000.
Well, you can play with it, can't you? It's like back in Prague, a friend Tomáš, who's kind of bumped into one day and became kind of the key to me understanding Prague. So he knew all the musicians, underground bars.
Yeah,
he used to put the sport acts on for Nick Cave when they visited in Hugo Race and all these other things.
Yeah,
and he just introduced me to the whole of the world. And I started DJing on cassette. So I'd line all the cassettes up, and I had a vinyl sheet. I was telling my friend last night, and then it was just like odd music to dance to, basically. And we'd find these weird venues that he'd get because he knew how to go and talk to he called Czech babičkas, which is like a grandma in the kind of council office, and give us some chocolates and some flowers. And they'd give us this venue or to do something down by the river. But I used to make all the, sorry, that does relate to what you're saying. I used to make all the posters by hand, collaged, little rubber stamps with the words on them. We used to stick them up around town, and occasionally it'd be like really busy, and occasionally it'd be just me and Tomáš.
That's brilliant.
It's great. Yeah.
I mean that sort of stuff. One of my very early episodes, talking about kind of collage and sort of zine stuff and posters and what have you. One of my very early episodes was with Dave Haslam.
Yeah.
DJ and writer, and he was saying, like, back in the sort of early 80s, he had this. He created a fanzine called Debris, and it was it was really kind of hand knitted, and he was like sticking things together and stuff like that, and taking it into cafes and what have you.
Yeah.
And he said I dropped it off at this bar, and then I went before I left, I went to the toilet. He went in and he said just above the urinal was like this, somebody written, "Debris is shit."
That's great.
And he said he just sort of smirked and thought, "Yeah, that's okay. I'm happy with that."
I think I know that thing.
Yeah.
I think I've had a collage in that.
Have you?
Years ago, I'm pretty sure. I have one suitcase full of old, what I'd call very uncommercial illustrations, is what I used to do.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much of an area in doing that to earn a living, but I'm pretty sure, I'll have a look later, in my suitcase of old like magazines and book covers that I did. I'm pretty sure I was in there. But was it like a kind of that size?
Yeah, it's a small thing. Yeah.
But they're great, those things, aren't they? They're like,
they really are. In a way, I kind of think that I just wish we could kind of get. It sounds like an old man sort of thing to say, but I kind of wish we could get back to that because it just feels more personal.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine, Stephen Bookery, just put a show on down in Deptford at APT Gallery, and he made a publication to go with it, which is just he just sort of collaged together some photographs of the artists, the studios, and another artist, Dan Howard Burt, wrote the text for it. Yeah. And it's like a little zine thing.
Yeah.
And he's making a series of these on different works he's making. They're really great.
Yeah.
Being polished is not necessarily the best thing.
I agree. No. Totally. Even like when I'm listening to music, when I'm listening to even like studio music, particularly sort of live music, where there's if somebody fucks something up, I'm like, that's fine with me.
Yeah, it can be the best part, can't it? Yeah, but I guess we do live in a kind of very, very polished. Yeah, be too busy doing. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to talk about that, but
with them, like when you put your work out there, and it sort of gets reviewed, and if there, how do you, think about what Dave had with that Debris is shit. Yeah. If you how do you sort of respond to criticism?
I mean, it's nice when people are nice.
It depends on what they say, doesn't it? What degree
it does. I think in general, Lark have always had pretty good reviews. I think it's almost half sort of unreviewable. Yeah, because it's kind of like it's. I'm not. I guess I'm just. I am doing it for myself, genuinely, and putting it together and have that kind of not. It's always like fast song, slow song, weirder song, instrumental song, and just have a kind of different flow to a record. But it got. I mean, the reviews are harder to come back to say this time than they were before. Before the last one, seems like the landscape's changed quite a bit
with journalism.
And a lot of the contacts that I had over the years through getting reviews and write-ups, they've moved on. They've had kids and moved away, or they don't do it anymore. The magazine's gone under. So I've had one really bad review once, but I kind of agreed with it.
Did you?
He just hated my little picky guitar playing, which is one note guitar playing on the record, and he hated it, and I got why he hated it. I thought it was all right.
Brilliant.
Well, it's kind of it's someone. I just went to get a coffee before we did this, and I said, they went, "Oh, what you do?" Yeah, but I guess no press is bad press.
Yeah.
It's like
it's true.
Someone writes about it and they're negative about it. Well, then, it's. I think the worst is when
it's had an impact, hasn't it?
Yeah, when it's not written about, when it's just sort of glossed over.
Yeah.
But look. I mean, it's this. Even making music, starting it was after I've been painting for quite a few years. My friend Ian Parkin in Stockport, who was my tutor briefly, and then we became really good friends, shared a flat. I went to see him. We just went out drinking in Manchester, and then next day he had a mid record. I mean, this was alien to me. I was like 32, 33. He went, "I've made this," and we listened to it. I think late at night, and I was like, "This is fucking, it could be anything." I was like, "This is fucking amazing," and it was really good. And I went, I want to make one of them. He went, "Here, here's a Tascam 4-track. I've got a new one. I've got 16-track." I went, "Right, I'm going to make a record." So I went and made a record. And that's how I did. That's how I wrote, and made 14 songs. And they're beyond lo-fi. It's a subgenre of that. But at the time, I played football in London, and the whole team was artists and musicians. And they're the only people I gave the CD to. And one was Jim, who I mentioned earlier, who played, and Nin and Barney and a few other people, and Jim was a teacher as well as being in the band, and he was like, do you want to realise this? And I never even thought about this. I said, what do you mean? He said, do you want to perform it? And I was like, oh, I'm not too sure about that. I hadn't really thought about the idea of going on stage. And we went, yeah, all right. So I'd lived in a warehouse flat in Hackney, and we used to rehearse once a week, 6 of us. And his project in his head was we're going to do it note for note. So, I mean, it was so all over the place. And it had 2 songs with lyrics on. And one of them was the same line all the way through. And we rehearsed for 6 months, and we played. And I think, and the thing I sent you, if you read it, Jock Scott, the poet, used to drink in the same pub as me, and I heard him talking one night. I thought, that's got to be fucking Jock Scott. And I asked him if he'd be the headline act for our first and only gig. That's what it was going to be. And he came and did the support act for us, which is amazing.
Brilliant.
And it was packed, and we decorated the whole pub with thousands of larks or hundreds of larks hanging from the ceiling. And it was the most terrifying experience of my life. I
was going to say, how was it? Terrifying.
Absolutely. I mean, I got such bad cramp in my hand prior that I thought I can't play guitar. I mean, there's only one song I played on, and kind of got, I wouldn't say I definitely got a taste for it, but then after that, we did it again a year later. But in that time, I'd started writing songs.
Yeah.
And then got the kind of, and for quite a while, that's what I would. I'd just go and just go in the studio and go, right, I'm going to write a song.
Yeah.
Write down lots of lyrics, and I'd have notebooks all the time anyway, my whole kind of life. But then they had something to be used in.
Yeah. So, the second time around, was it easier?
I don't think I was. I mean, from the feeling inside me of being on stage, it never quite. The bigger the stage you played on, we toured in Prague, we played in a couple of festivals. When it was bigger, it was easier.
Yeah.
When it was small, it was harder. And we were generally playing, Barfly and the Bull and Gate and stuff like that. And then the odd kind of bigger thing, like I said, we played with Scritti Politti once because I knew Green because he drank in the local pub. And so there was the odd one that when it's really, and it just felt so much easier if we were on a bigger stage, people further away. It felt
further
like
away.
Or if you just stood on the same level and you're staring at me, it's a bit like it's scary, really. I wouldn't say I was a natural. It's not the place I would choose to go to be on stage. Like some people just love it. It depends on my mood on the night.
Yeah. So for Be Still, it's covering quite a big range of topics.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm right, it's over a period. I mean, obviously it's 7 years since you've last.
It is over a period because I kind of decided to because it had gone on so long. Right at the beginning of lockdown, about 2000, March 2000, I decided 2020. Sorry, I thought, right, I'm going to write a record.
Yeah,
and I think I wrote one song. That day, and then didn't get round to anything again.
Yeah,
and so in the end, I kind of made a decision like about a year ago that I've got all the music I've got on Pro Tools. A couple of things I'd worked on that had never been released. That had been maybe I'd written like 5, 6, 7 years ago. So I'm just going to put it all together, and I'm going to destroy everything I own. There wasn't much of it. It wasn't that dramatic because it wasn't like I was getting rid of like 5,000 songs. It was just stuff that was hanging around. I can go back to that. So then I got all my notebooks. I went through them all. I wrote them on decent lines on just different sheets of paper that I use as a kind of cut-up technique to get lyrics. And all the notebooks I then glued together individually and made them into objects and painted on them. Books themselves that I took all the stuff out of, I ended up with about 8 of them, and they look like this now. So this is the notebook I would use, that I use all the time.
Yeah.
And this is what it ended up being a painting. So the whole thing was put together. So all the words, I mean, some of them have sold. There's about 3 still left, but they became like an object in a painting. And,
brilliant.
And some dreadful, dreadful writing inside it. But yeah, I mean, it moves around a lot. You talk about subject matter. I guess, kind of the Be Still lyric. I mean, it sounds a bit wanky. Sort of either was in a dream or it was the first thing I thought when I woke up was "Be bastard, be still." It didn't really make any sense. But the still thing was a kind of maybe, I don't know, in the end with the record was kind of reference to starting meditating as well at the same time. That was kind of a reference in there, and maybe stop being as self-destructive as I had been. But it goes back into childhood and all sorts of things. I mean, something too personal to talk about, and it's kind of disguised. It's on view in the open, basically. The lyrics are there, and they're kind of relatively straightforward.
It's interesting. I remember I did during maybe about 4 or 5 months into lockdown. There was a few of us that had got together and we formed this arts lab.
Yes.
And one of the protagonists was Youth from Killing Joke.
Okay.
He was involved in it, and there was some poetry done. There was some music. There was some paint we to get together. This was sort of online. When it's weird thinking back that seemed like such a novelty. It's like, fucking hell, this is brilliant. This is like people all getting together doing this stuff together. So we used to put on these sort of workshops where we get people coming on and talking about their work, and like Gina Birch came on talking about her painting.
I know Gina.
Yeah, she was great, and one of them was with Penny Slinger, who you may know, but her art is collage. It's all collage work, and it's very sort of sexual collage work. She's brilliant. She lives in she's British, but she lives in Los Angeles now. I think she's maybe say sort of mid-70s, perhaps. Penny Slinger. She's brilliant. Anyway, so she did this workshop on collage, and it was great. It was just like bring your bits of stuff along and bring your scissors and really kind of get back to sort of brass tacks with it. It was great. And then another one that we did was with Laura O'Dell, who was married to Genesis Peorage, and they're in Psychic TV together. And she did a stream of consciousness workshop where we just like sat. She gave us like a couple of starting points, and then you just wrote. So literally, like everything that's you had to try really hard not to think.
Yeah, like automatic writing kind of stuff. Yeah.
Let it go. Just let it go out. And it was, talking about that kind of deep stuff that's rooted inside of you, it starts to come out.
Stuff comes out. Yeah, I mean, I've tried that a few times with writing, just to write, just write for 15 minutes. It's a lot harder than it sounds, actually.
It is. It is.
And I think once you've done it a little bit, almost like in a certain way, you maybe get rid of the kind of cruxes that you rely on, your thing that you go to. Like you have in painting, in music, less so again, probably just due to the kind of lack of technical prowess. But once you work through them, then you find other stuff underneath it.
Yeah.
So I think we all have our places to go to with, what we write down. It's like, it's
definitely.
But yeah, it is silly. You're saying that about Zooming. See, I don't do this. This is probably the only second time I've done this.
Is it really?
Yeah, like being on Zoom.
You're a natural. It's like you've been doing it all your life.
I really haven't. I decided recently, probably about 6 months ago, I was like, I'm saying yes to everything, and not feeling kind of self-conscious about it. I'm just going to say yes to things, rather than say, oh no, think about it. I don't know about that. I was actually quite nervous when we started, but I'm fine now. But
that didn't come across. Obviously.
But I've been invited because of the gallery that I run, which is Terrace Gallery, which started in the studio. It's been on and off for years. It's been in a pub. It's been outdoors. It's been in a library where it is now. It attracts really great painters into it. Being invited to curate a show in New York this time, just through running this little independent art space in the back room of a pub in Leighton.
That's brilliant.
And same on that. They've said there's a talk going on at the gallery, and I'm just like, yeah, fine, put me in.
Put you in for it.
It's America. You're on holiday, so it'll be fine. Do you know what I mean? When you're on holiday, it's not the same rules, is it? It's like
it doesn't. It's like it doesn't count, isn't it?
It doesn't count. Yeah, it's like when you drive abroad. You drive as fast as you want, park where you want.
So is that something that like previously you'd have been not sure. So that I mean I've struggled with. I'm tons better now, but this self-consciousness, that was something. I know that's what I was talking in the intro about improvisation. Sometimes, like if I'm trying to play stuff on the cello now, after having picked it up after 30 odd years,
that long. Okay.
There's a self-consciousness that sticks with me. You know, it's like, oh, do that. It's almost like I'm watching myself.
Yeah.
And it drives me bananas.
Well, it's just a really annoying trait, isn't it? And I have it. I used to have it on stage.
Did you? Yeah.
And not all the time, but some of the time.
Mm.
Be thinking, oh, shall I move my hand over here now? Especially when there's no words to be said. Not when the words are being spoken, but I was just self-conscious and so fucking boring being like that.
Yeah, it is totally.
I was a really shy kid.
Yeah, me too.
And so it kind of, I think it just taps into that bit, which I've hidden. It's all hidden away and fine, but it's still there. It's still what I was for the first 9-10 years. It's weird. Annoying, but it's kind of like it's not going to win.
Yeah.
Even if it wins a bit, it's still going to get crushed under the weight of me making stuff.
I mean, that's what I like about what you're saying is the desire to create stuff wins out every time.
I think this that desire, to create, to be alive, to make things, to be involved with things, to do things. I think it's easy to be it's easy to be a cynic, and I've been a cynic, but it's easy to be like that. I think it's just more. It's just a better place, just doing things. Yeah. Failing. What's wrong with failing? Failing is quite good. You know?
Yeah, it is.
Doubt's all right as well.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because that thing about failure, that you kind of need to fail to eventually become a success. And all that. It's true. It's one of the hardest things to do, isn't it? To kind of like accept your failures. But then again, we have become. Again, it's like another thing that society has sort of imposed on us. It's like these sort of definitions of failure, definitions of success.
And the idea that the art world and music world, on some levels, are it's just really capitalistic.
It's the commercial success
it's commercial
is the definition, isn't it?
You would never have looked at the top of the charts for the version of what's the best singer, or the best song, totally. The best band, and I should apply with it. It should be. It is the way things are. It's like things are. You've made a record. Who's bought it? You've made a record. Can that just be enough? I thought there's a whole kind of living in the moment world.
Yeah,
you've done it. People go, "Oh, I want to play cello." Oh, well, fucking play it then.
Yeah,
go write a song and play some cello. Great. And then when you've done it, they'll go, "What are you doing with it?"
Yeah, no, I know.
What do you mean? It was enough to me to do that, wasn't it?
I've even found myself saying that because if I talk to people about it, and I'll say, "I've no idea what I'm going to do with it." It's like, why am I even thinking about that?
I've got a suggestion for you.
Go on.
You can play on a lark song.
Yeah.
If you wanted to. I mean, that's how I operate with. I have a friend in Sheffield, Paul Burke, who I haven't seen him for 20 years. He plays guitar on lark songs. I send him the song up, and it's open. There's no direction. It's just like put that on there and expect me to do whatever I want with it at this end.
Yeah.
And the same with a singer in Prague, where I used to live. A band out there called Kill the Dandies. They've done stuff in the past. Yeah. And that's how I get other people involved. Yeah. Occasionally in the same room. Actually, you mentioned the Pixies, because Emma, who's in the Pixies now.
Oh, yes, of course.
She plays bass on Decorate, but she's a painter friend.
Yeah.
And she said she would. And then in the meantime, join the Pixies. I was like, can you please play on it, please? Before you continue.
Before you dive into that.
She's been on tour with them for 2 years. It's incredible.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, she just stopped being. I can't think she was in Band of Horses.
Band of Horses. Yeah, she was. Yeah. Band
she
of
just
Horses.
Stopped and became started getting back in full on into painting again, and then got invited to try out for the Pixies and got in.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Really nuts. It's absolutely nuts. She's a lovely, lovely person as well, and she's just like, yes. I think she's quite believes it.
As you wouldn't do when you get that sort of call.
Well, no, she suddenly went from a little studio in Bow or West Ham, I think, and then she's like touring the world for the last 2 years.
Just incredible.
And it's happened to the right kind of person, so it's good.
Yeah. I love that idea of contributing to an album.
Yes.
I mean, it's interesting when you said that. I was like going on in my mind. I was thinking of every reason why I shouldn't do it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think
do you know that? And that's such a natural reaction from me.
Yeah, and that's such. We actually used to have the first Lark album, Shop, which was a full band album, and we got signed to Care in the Community Recordings. Brought the first 2 records out based on them seeing as I think playing with Band of Holy Joy, Johnny, who I know quite well in London, and they signed us based on seeing that, and then didn't really like the full band, so then it went to becoming a solo thing they released. But on the first album, we had a cello player, Nikki. She was classic trained cellist, and she used to play cello on 3 of the songs.
Wow!
But it's kind of like it's another non-musician trick. If you're not much of a musician, your songs tend to be a little bit slower. Yeah?
Yes,
and cello's never like. So it's like you can long droning cello notes off a synthesizer work quite well.
Yes.
Yeah. Cello's incredible.
No, it's a lovely instrument, and you know, it's weird looking back. It was like it wasn't the right time for me, or also it wasn't done the right. It sounds like because it was really my dad's thing. You know, he was he sung in a choir. You know, he was really into music, and he got me into it, and I you know, complete sort of credit to him for doing that.
So, what ages were you when you had lessons?
I started. I started when I was about 8, and then played through till I was maybe. I think I passed all my exams 16, and then I gave it up when I was 17.
Okay. And did you ever play with anybody else?
When I was younger, I played in like the school orchestra, and you know, so I was like I was kind of like the lead.
Oh yeah, okay.
Cellist, and then I did some solo stuff as well.
Well, okay.
Yeah, which is a bit. They're a bit of a hazy memory. Probably there's some part of me's tried to sort of block it out because it's got, you know, associations of a.
Of course,
because my dad was really disappointed when I gave it up. He was gutted, you know, and I knew he would be, but I just couldn't do it anymore. But I did. Yeah, I remember. You know, so you know, I played. What did I play? I think I played like St Matthew's Passion in Blackburn Cathedral. yeah, it's wild.
It is.
Totally, totally wild.
So did you have your own cello?
Yeah.
So it's like
I did, with like the hard case. So that was another thing. I was sort into sort of punk music. Everybody knew that I was into punk music. You know, I was really into my football as well. Yeah, and I was carrying around this massive instrument on my back when I just wanted it to disappear.
Yeah, you just probably wanted a guitar. You know,
I just wanted a guitar. Yeah, exactly.
But that's because if you could play that, if someone had put a guitar in your hand at like 14, you'd have been good enough straight away, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I could have done it, and you know, I mean,
since then, everything has its time and place, doesn't it? It's like if you're not ready, it's the wrong time, or whatever. You just got to, you know. I released this album on my 58th birthday, which I thought was kind of a funny little thing. Isn't that what everybody does on the 58th birthday? Release their 7th album. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, just do it. I just think just do it is kind of like, and try not to have too many things on your shoulders about it. You know.
Yeah, like, I know. That's what I need to do.
It's just a killer. People end up sitting around, and you just think. I suppose you get a bit older, and you start. I mean, I've lost a few good friends. We had a drummer in law, Ninian. It's 18 years since he died, and he was in the very beginning. But and also Ewan, he used to be in Lark. He was very young when he died. 27, and not like a horrible drug death, a totally separate thing. And yeah, you got to do. I mean, you know, they were gone at 34 and 27.
Yeah.
So you've got to do stuff. It's like
you just got to do it, haven't you?
If you need to do it, and if you don't, I mean, you're probably more blessed if you just have no desire to do anything.
Yes,
or just walk around.
There's nothing then weighing you down, is there?
No.
You don't have that kind of weight that sits with you of like, should be doing that.
Should be doing something. Or I shouldn't be doing this thing. Or shouldn't be doing that. You know, it's kind of. I mean, I have my. That's why I come to every day to my studio. That's what I do: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I'm a single dad, so I go at the weekends. So I'm very split between the two things, and I absolutely love being a father. And yeah, but as soon as I'm not, it just come in here and make it work. And the Lark studio used to be here when we used to have a live act. It used to be downstairs, but then that stopped. I don't need it because I just have a little setup at home with like guitar and keyboards and stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, get on with it, make stuff, do things, let other people decide what they think of it. I think it's a Warhol thing that said that. Just make stuff, let other people decide if it's good or bad.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very true.
Because it's I mean, it's just not even in a self-satisfaction. It's not even that for me, because as soon as it's done, it's on to the next thing. So it's kind of like, think, right, next. Or you start thinking, right, that's been released. That sounds a bit, especially with music, and gives a different feeling. Then I start thinking, I want to write something a bit more polished and a bit more poppy. I won't. That's what I'm imagining. I think because I've been listening to Baxter Jury's new song, Alba, which is, I was thinking, I want to do that.
So what, I mean, when you think back of or think of your Lark back catalogue, you know, go back to what, you know, when you sort of first put something out. I mean, what sort of feelings does that bring up for you?
I don't listen to it very often, but when it randomly comes on a kind of like iPod on shuffle, because I'm that old, I still have that situation. I always think it's all right. I think it's good. I think there's some good stuff there. I prefer the stuff that's kind of, if anything, wonkier and weirder. But certain things come up, and there are certain kind of tracks thinking, that I really want to rewrite that kind of. Don't know this. I think certain times of writing lyrics, I think there are certain ones, maybe going through certain things in my life that led to that. But they seem to come a bit easier. But then I was late to it anyway. But I wasn't really, I was essentially 16 because it was the first lyrics I'd written when I was writing at 40 odd. It's the first time I committed it to like, to a song. But
well, ultimately, those songs are where were you at that time and place.
Yeah.
That's what was what was on your mind. That's what you wanted to sort of put out there,
isn't there? There's such a with painting, it's a slower process. Not just slower in the making, it's slower in the absorption of what you're looking at, and things can't, you have a painting on your wall, like you think you're behind you, and they've changed meaning all the time, and I guess songs do as well. But when you just written a song that you really like, and you've quickly put, distorted your vocals a bit and put some reverb on it, and then played it really loud in your studio, it's just so instant. You're just like, I'm still a bit like, wow, I just fucking made a song again.
Just made that,
yeah. And I guess. I mean, I want to carry on doing it, and I kind of like the idea of being, a lot of musicians, a lot get worse as they get on, don't they? But a lot of them do get actually better as they get older. Tom Waits, again, mention him, but his work just got better and better as he got older, and strange.
Well, I think as well. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's, I mean, your music has got a lot of different styles. There are a lot of different, different kind of instruments, different kind of feels, different vibes that sort of come into it. And I think that, like, for me, that makes it exciting. That makes it. I mean, sure enough, there's a time and a place for a band like the Ramones who should never ever change.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I get you on that. I've never really ever wanted that kind of thing of going, this is like this. And I probably lean towards, like the Fall, amazing band, but all over the place. And I like a bit of all over the place.
Yeah.
Like
I remember when I was about, I must have been about 14 or 15, something like that. And I had a really good mate at school who was into the same music as me. There weren't many of us that were into the same sort of music. And going to like a, sort of house party and putting on some Einsturzende Neubauten.
Oh, really?
and trying to convince everybody else at the party that this was a really good idea to be playing.
I took my mate Rob, who's He was going to co-curate the show with me in New York, and I took him to see Einstein. I don't even know how to say it. Neubaut and what's that place? Kenny's Town Forum. I had a spare ticket.
Oh yeah, yeah. I saw them there as well.
It's probably 2000, I think.
Yeah.
And he was wandering around stage. He had like, I think, boys from the sea or something strapped to their feet, and they were banging them around. He was really into like, he's going to kill me for this, but he was really into the Ocean Colour scene that I used to take the piss out of him for. And he was going, "What the fuck is this?" I know. To be honest, I was probably thinking the same thing. But they've made some really great stuff. But it's just really, it's pushing it to the very end, isn't it? I mean, it meets art with what Blixer does and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but that's the sort of stuff that I kind of get from your music as well. Is that sort of unexpected?
Yeah.
You don't know what's gonna come next, and then even from song to song, but even within songs as well.
Yeah, and that's
the exciting part.
Yeah. I try to keep myself alive within the making process in a way. And even like the last song on there, which has got a drummer in our studio, Joe's downstairs, he puts on. I basically just go, "Will you give me 5 minutes of like I'm blind?" I went, "Give me 5 minutes of the Glitter Band meets Blindness by the Fall."
Yeah,
he gave me the drums.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
He gave me the drums, and I wrote the song based on the drums, and it lasted for that period of time. And then on the last song, I had a kind of 12-minute kind of synth song. It wasn't even really a song; it was just noises and stuff. And he put some very strange, really kind of big drums on it, like really well produced. He has a proper little studio downstairs, and he got edited down to like, I think it's 4.5 minutes long. But I couldn't get a melody line for it, and I didn't want an instrumental on it. And so in the end, the lyrics I hated for it. I wanted something else, so I thought I'm just going to make some words up, sing it over the top of it, and I did it, and I really liked the made-up words. So they're the lyrics. Yeah, a friend of mine got in touch and said, "Is that you singing in Hungarian?" It's not even language. It's just noises to try and get a new melody line. But then I thought, it's as valid as and I quite liked it as an ending for the record to go right. This is like a new level of nonsense. This is making the noises and sounds up. And I've done that before to get a melody line, then sung it afterwards. But I guess there's a line between kind of almost nursery rhyme kind of simpleness with lyric writing for me, with a serious thing going on lyrically.
Yeah.
And a bit of repetition. And I was struggling towards the end of the record to write anything I wanted to have on. And then in the very end, on the last 2 days, I wrote Sixpence and that vocal, and I was happy I'd had a record.
Happy with that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, it's a great. Honestly, it's a great record. I keep sort of coming back to it, like your catalog as well.
Yeah.
It's like I said, that sort of feeling, sort of being a bit unnerved, but there's like paradoxically, there's like a kind of pleasure in that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Sometimes, like when you're unnerved, it's like you kind of go, but this like drags me back in.
Yeah.
I like it like that.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I don't really get that, but it obviously gets reviewed like that all the time. If you go to someone who's reviewing it and they go, "Oh God, I've got to review a art record and it's summertime," it would throw. So I try to release them in winter. So I think I released one in July once, and it was really not the time to be listening to what I do. But yeah, I sort of don't see that. I see quite a lot of humour in it as well, and kind of comedy in it. Because I know what the reference points are from, but
yeah, of course,
clouded up a little bit. It's not kind of this is what happened to me. This, and this is that all in there, but it's hidden away a little bit.
Yeah, which makes it. Now you've said that makes it all the more interesting when I listen to it. The next time is that gives you sometimes even you just saying that. Yeah, then gives me a different perspective with which to listen to it. Perhaps before.
Sometimes you get a lyric that just works that you want to like. There's one on Blind, a bag of hope, a box of tears, which I just really liked as a little couplet.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, that's going in somewhere. Somehow that's got to get into.
Got to fit that in somewhere. Yeah.
But that could apply to a million things.
Yeah.
And tears aren't necessarily bad, are they? If you watch It's a Wonderful Life, tears are wonderful. So,
Yeah. Brilliant. Karl,
Yep.
thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. That was good.
That's been a really good chat. Really good chat.
It's been amazing. So let's keep, you know.